Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our virtual town hall meeting to discuss Beat the Meter. We're very excited about this topic, and we hope that it is helpful to each of you with regard to your travels in the city of Philadelphia. We at the Parking Authority welcome you to this town hall meeting, and we hope that it's informative. Should you have questions during the process of the town hall meeting, feel free to put them into the chat, and we will answer the questions with our panel. We have a great panel of people here today. We have from our operations group, LaRonda Jackson, who is a ticketing supervisor, and James Simmons, who is a parking enforcement officer, and Scott Rutizer, who is our kiosk coordinator. We have a great agenda for you today. Our agenda will include the following items: why we issue parking tickets, how we issue parking tickets, or meter tickets, I should say. What are the facts and the myths about tickets? There are a lot of them, and we want you to understand how it works. And then sure, everybody wants to know, how do you beat the meter? And we certainly want you to understand how our customer service works, how you can contact us, and take advantage of all that we have to offer to you. So having said that, let's jump right into our discussion. Our first panelist is going to be LaRonda Jackson. Ms. Jackson, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and then talk about why we issue parking tickets.
Well, just to give you a little information on my career here at the Parking Authority. I've been with the Parking Authority for 8 years. I started in security. I then came over to the ticketing department as a parking enforcement officer. A year and a half later, I became a ticketing supervisor, and for the last 3 years, I've been the ticketing training supervisor.
Great, great, great. So tell us about why we issue parking tickets. What are the rules? Why do we do what we do?
Well, just to give you a little background, on April 8th of 1983, City Council passed an ordinance to permit the Parking Authority to coordinate the management of on-street parking. So what we do is designed to promote safety, expedite the flow of traffic, assist commercial businesses and residential neighborhoods.
Great. So when you say assist commercial businesses, what do you mean by that?
Well, specifically for people to be able to come and patronize businesses. If you need to run in and maybe pick something up from the pharmacy, or just something really quick you need to run in a store to get, you may not necessarily want to have to pay for an hour of parking. So we have loading zones and passenger loading zones, the short-term parking to allow people to come in and patronize the business.
Okay. And when you say turnover, what do you mean by that?
Turnover meaning that there's a constant flow of cars coming and going from a particular area.
So you allow one set of people to park, you expect them to move after a little while so more people come in and park and then do their shopping and whatnot. Is that what you mean?
Yes, to make it fair for everyone, so everyone's able to come and maybe pick up that candy bar or, pick up prescriptions, things like that.
Go shopping, things like that. Right, right. Yes. Go to restaurants, my favorite. Yes. Okay. So now I also want to introduce another member of our panel, and that's Mr. James Simmons. Mr. Simmons, could you tell us about yourself?
Here we are. Okay. Hello, my name is James Simmons. I'm a 14-year employee at Philadelphia Parking Authority, and I want you all to know I'm a true Philadelphian. I like cheesesteaks, water ice, and soft pretzels, and I am a hometown a sports fan, hometown teams only, okay? So I'm here to assist in this town hall, and I'm anxious to get started with my portion.
Okay, great. Well, then start right away. Tell us, how do we issue tickets, meter tickets? How do we do that?
Okay, as a parking enforcement officer, I'm not necessarily on a leisurely walk, I'm on a patrol. And part of my patrol is to identify where anyone's car is parked as I patrol the area or patrol the street. And part of the identifying process requires even me as a parking enforcement officer to read the sign. I have to identify where a vehicle is parked. And as a side note, we encourage citizens, when you park your car, read the signs and follow the arrows. So once I identify where a car is parked, according to what the sign says, that's how I begin my possibly timing the vehicle or issuing a ticket. With our handheld computer, I scan the tag. Now, if you're in a 30-minute loading zone, I will time you for 30 minutes according to my scanning. If you're in a meter zone, once I scan your tag, that tells me that whether you're paid or unpaid or expired. So I identify, I scan, and then I have to review the information that the scan gives me. Then I have to confirm. And as you see, issuing a meter ticket is a process, and there are steps within that process. So I confirm and verify, and then I can print the ticket. If you're in a meter spot and your session has expired, or the meter your paid meter has expired, I then verify that, and then I print the ticket. If you're in a time zone, with a 2-hour zone or a 20-minute loading zone or 30-minute loading zone, I have to time you for 30 minutes and then come back. And then if you're still there, I confirm that this is the tag that I timed, then I can print the ticket.
Okay, Mr. Simmons, help me understand one thing, or clarify for us. When you say patrol, what does that mean? Do you pass each location one time during the time that you're on the street?
Well, each parking enforcement officer, we're given an assigned area, an assigned number of blocks within an assigned radius. So I may patrol the area 3 or 4 times throughout the day. For the most part, except for lunchtime and break time, our patrols are constant. And it's not that we're hunting, or it's not that we are targeting anyone. We are on a patrol. And as I said earlier, I'm on a patrol. So when I get on a certain block, I have to know what the sign says so I can identify, scan, review, and do all those steps. But we are taught and we are trained to patrol the area that we are assigned to.
Great. A question for you that we have from our audience. Does the PPA patrol every street in the city?
We don't patrol every street in the city because some areas are not regulated by the parking authority. Some areas have no regulations or no signs posted. So no, we patrol a good portion of the city, but we do not patrol the entire city.
Okay, that's very, very helpful. So I'm sure, Mr. Simmons, in your work, because you were out on the street today working, that you talk to a lot of citizens who have concerns, our customers, who have concerns about not understanding some of the rules or how they might get a ticket at a meter. So we're calling this section myths versus facts, what people really need to know. So I want you to help us go through these myths or facts and tell us which ones are right or which ones people need to get a little bit more clarification. So our first myth versus fact. A person is sitting in a parked car. Can the car be ticketed?
Yes, depending on where they are parked, the car can be ticketed, even though someone is occupying the car at that moment. Let's use a loading zone for an example. If you're parked in a 20-minute or 30-minute loading zone and you are not actively loading or unloading, but someone is occupying the vehicle, that vehicle can be timed according to the posted signs, and it can be ticketed.
Okay, so
so
you're saying that you can be timed and ticketed. And explain a little bit more what timed means. What does it mean when you say you time the car?
But once again, I would scan the tag, and then I would enter the tag into the computer for the appropriate time limit. And the time limit is always posted on the sign, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so forth. And when I return, I scan the tag again to double check myself to make sure before I issue that I'm issuing a ticket to the right tag. And if someone is still occupying the car, we have to have a conversation and say, ma'am or sir, you've been here past the time limit on the posted sign. Is it possible that you can please move your vehicle?
Okay, so the fact that you're sitting in the car doesn't excuse the fact that there's a time limit on how long the car can be there. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And this also applies to residential areas. where we have our residential parking.
Oh, so in our residential permit parking areas, if that's timed, even if you're sitting in the vehicle, it that counts against the time that you're allowed to be there.
That is correct. The vehicle can be timed when I notice it. If I'm on the block at 12 o'clock and you're sitting in your car at 12 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, your car can be timed.
That's an important point because some of our viewers right now might be, say, students at universities where there are residential permit parking areas. And they may think if they sit in their car for an hour before class and then they're away from their car for 2 hours for the class, that they were only away for 2 hours. But essentially they're there for 3 hours and they will have
Correct.
exceeded the time that's allowed for the residential permit parking area. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay. Tip number one. Great. Okay. Mr. Simmons, how about, can a car be towed when someone's sitting in it?
That no, cannot. We do not, Park Authority does not tow a vehicle when a vehicle is occupied by a person.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Next set of myth versus facts. Can a car be ticketed when the hazard lights are on? I know I see a lot of people, put that beacon signal on with the hazard lights. Can the car be ticketed then?
Yes, if that car is parked illegal, if that car is parked in a bus zone, if that car is parked in a handicap reserved space that's reserved for people with disabilities, if that car is parked where a sign says no parking or no stopping at any time, yes, that car can be ticketed, even though the hazard lights are on. And oftentimes people say, I just ran in the store, I just ran to do this, I'm trying to do this. That's why in various areas, all throughout the city, actually, there are loading zones for short-term parking. And I always tell citizens, sometimes it's better to pay the meter as opposed to parking illegally, but your hazard's on, because you can be ticketed. And in most of those cases, you can also be towed.
If you park someplace where it's a safety hazard.
Correct.
Or impeding a bus, things like that. What about if the vehicle's broken down, Mr. Simmons? Can the car be towed if the vehicle's broken down? Or I'm sorry, ticketed if the vehicle's broken down?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes we will ticket a car that is broken down because we don't know that it's broken down because it's unattended, which means nobody's with the car, nobody's near the car. If somebody's with the car, somebody's near the car, and they can say to me, hey, my car broke down, I'm waiting for a tow truck, I'm waiting for a jump, I'm waiting for AAA, then as a courtesy, we will grant them the time that they need until either the car gets towed or sometimes the car can be repaired right there on location. I can go over the radio, give the make, the model, the color, the location, the tag number, and I can confirm with my supervisor. And my supervisor will always say, make sure you tell the citizen they must stay with the car, because somebody else might come behind me and might not know that it's broken down. And if they're not there, then their car can be ticketed.
Okay, that's great. So it's good to communicate with the parking enforcement officer to let them know your situation and they can work with you. That's great. How about if the meter has a bag over it, like an Acme bag or ShopRite bag, a plastic bag placed over top of the meter? Can the car be ticketed then?
Yes, it can be, because the parking authority does not use supermarket bags, paper bags. We have cloth bags, and I believe those bags can be locked with a padlock. If that bag is not an authorized PPA bag, that bag can be removed, and if we determine that the meter is working, the car can be ticketed.
Okay, very good. And also the last question about this ticketing process, what about rush hour zones? So on Broad Street, for example, we have rush hour restrictions in the morning and in the afternoon. Can somebody be ticketed on, let's say, on North Broad Street on the west side in the morning?
Yes, absolutely. On North Broad Street, actually going from, I believe it starts at Alney Avenue all the way down to Vine Street. There's a rush hour lane. The far right lane is the rush hour lane. And the purpose of that is SEPTA buses try to utilize that lane, while the other 2 lanes, the traffic can keep moving. So North Broad Street becomes not just a 2-lane street, but a 3-lane street. And the hours are 7 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. And if anyone's in that far right lane, they can be ticketed, and it's a good chance they will also be towed.
Oh, so you can be ticketed and towed on the rush
Yes.
hour parking. Very good. Now let's talk a little bit about vehicles that have disabled persons' credentials, either the license plate or the hang tag. Do people with those vehicles receive a courtesy hour when they park?
They do not receive an hour courtesy in a loading zone. A car with a disabled tag or with disabled hang tag or plaque card, if it does not get an hour courtesy in the loading zone, it's either 30 minutes or it's 20 minutes. And unfortunately, that plaque card or that handicap tag will not get you an hour, but it will get you an hour in a metered space.
Ah,
And what I often tell citizens is pay the meter up front. And then if your meeting runs over, or if your doctor appointment runs a little bit longer, or if you're in an office building on the 20th floor and you're coming down and the elevator is stopping at every other floor, it's going to take a little longer to get back to your car. So I always suggest to citizens, pay the meter first, then take the hour on the back end. That way, if you run over what you assume your time is going to be, you still have a little leeway to get back to your car before you receive a ticket.
okay. And what about in the what we call the RPP zone, or the residential permit parking zone? Do they receive, with those placards, receive a 1 hour courtesy?
Yes, they will. In a residential parking zone, most of them are 2 hours. So you get the 2 hour parking, plus because of the plaque card or your disabled tag, you get an additional hour, which would be 3 hours total.
Okay, great. Now this question that we just received from one of our customers, Ms. Jackson or Mr. Simmons. You know, we always talk about the tickets that we write, and people know that we write a lot of tickets. But there's a question: are there ticket quotas?
I'll let Ms.
There's
Jackson
no
take
quota. There is no ticket quota. We have analysts that come out and survey areas, but we do not have a quota.
Excellent. Okay, I know that that's a myth as well, but we want to just clarify that for people. Okay, let's go to our next section. And this section is called How to Beat the Meter, Exclusive Deets You Can't Beat. Now I'm going to be transparent. Somebody had to translate this for me. Exclusive deets means exclusive details you can't beat. Well, the first thing we just want you to know is the hours that we operate. Some people think that we operate 24 hours a day. That's not true. In fact, we are in operation only in Center City after a certain hour of the day. Ms. Jackson, you want to remind us what hour of the day that we are only in Center City and University City?
So that would be on Tuesday through Saturday from 6:30 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. We're only in Center City.
Okay. And in some of the residential permit parking areas, we may be in some of those communities late in the evening, but other than that, the commercial corridors, we're not there. Just a little detail that some of you might find important. Also, we'd like to say that when it comes to the issue of hours of enforcement, pay attention to the signs. If the sign says that you can park from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., don't pay after 10 o'clock. If the sign says that you can park for 3 hours, you're allowed up to 3 hours. It's the sign that we have in front of us. 3 hours from 4 to 10, but from 9 to 4, it's 2 hours. Okay, so the restriction changes, but just read the sign to get some guidance and understand that every block may have a different sign on it. There may be a different regulation based upon the conditions of the street or the demands of the merchants or the businesses that may be operating that street. But during the posted times, remember, I seem to always remember green means what you can do, And red kind of suggests what you can't do, right, with the sign. So our sign,
in most cases,
right?
yes.
Yeah, Ms. Jackson, maybe you have a better way of saying that if you want to say your way of saying it.
No, that's perfect, actually. That works.
So the green and white sign says what you can do, red and white sign says what you can't do. Now also know that there are certain days where there's no need for you to feed the meter because we're not going to enforce. Now it's not every holiday, and in fact, Veterans Day that's about to come up, we enforce on Veterans Day. However, when it comes to Martin Luther King's Day, New Year's Day, as you can see on our sheet, Easter, Memorial Day, Juneteenth, all those days we do not enforce. So if you choose to pay the meter, that's your choice. You don't need to because we're not going to be enforcing. And so some people wonder, can I get a ticket on a holiday? Yes, you can, right? However, Ms. Jackson, maybe you can clarify for us what tickets you might get on some of these holidays when I say we don't enforce parking meters, because we do enforce, but not enforce parking meters.
Yes, so we are still enforcing. We enforce safety violations, our loading zones and passenger loading zones. So it is strictly just the meter parking that we don't enforce. So you can still get a ticket for parking in, let's say, a no stopping or a bus zone.
Or fire hydrant, things like that.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So when it comes
All
to
of our
meters,
safety.
right? When it comes to meters, we do not enforce meters on these holidays. But other things, other safety violations, you can still get a ticket for that. So, Mr. Simmons, I have a question for you, or not a question. If you could tell us about the type of parking meters there are. It's kind of a detail, but some people may be interested to understand what our meters or kiosks are and what they do.
Okay, currently we have 3 different types of meters. The first meter at the bottom of the screen is only coin operated. That's the standalone meter, the meter that's actually on a pole. That meter is slowly being phased out, but there's still standalone meters throughout the city. Off to the right, you see a green box. That's called a green kiosk. Now, that particular kiosk machine takes quarters, paper money, credit, or debit, and it will give you a receipt. And that receipt you must place face up in plain view on your dash on the curb side of the vehicle. The next kiosk machine, which is the black box at the top right, that's our new system, pay by plate kiosk, which means you go to the kiosk, you double check that you're parked in the right zone, and the zone where you're parked is right above the kiosk and on the side of the kiosk. You select that you are parked in the right zone. Then the next biggest step is you must enter your license plate number. We encourage citizens, if you have a cell phone and you're able to take a picture of your license tag. So when you get to the kiosk machine, you can just pull up the picture and you can put your license tag in. And as we implement these new machines, we're starting to discover that citizens are making mistakes by not putting all the characters of the license tag into the kiosk machine. Take your time, make sure you have the right number, because we come by on this particular block where the black machines are and we scan your tag. If you put in the wrong tag, it's off by 1 number or by 1 character. What I scanned is incorrect, and I'm going to issue a ticket. Example, if you have a disabled tag, your tag might be PD 12345. Don't just put in the 12345. Put the PD first if it's at the beginning, or put the PD last if it's at the end. But that PD is a part of that tag. So you must put your whole tag into the machine, and then you select how you're going to pay, debit, credit, or quarters, because the new machines do not accept paper money.
Okay, excellent. So now if we were to transition to, say, the residential permanent parking, where we don't have the kiosks or meters in place, but instead there's a sign that says residential permanent parking, 2 hours only, and it may have a number, say 10, zone 10. How does that work, Mr. Simmons?
Well, that's when you can go online, or you can come in person to the parking authority, and you need to apply for a residential parking permit. And once you receive your residential parking permit, that gives you the leeway to park in that particular area. It might not be on that street that you actually live on, because in most areas there are multiple streets. And what happens is the parking authority zones an area by a certain number. So to use your example, number 10 RPP sticker can be used maybe on multiple streets within an area, and that's fine. And we always remind citizens, just because you have a residential parking permit, that does not guarantee a space parking in front of your door. But it should allow you to park somewhere on your street or somewhere within a short walking distance.
In that zone.
Yes.
Right. And so the vehicle, in order to qualify for this parking permit for residents, you have to be a tenant or homeowner, correct? So if you're a tenant, you have a lease.
Yes.
A homeowner. And the vehicle must be registered to that address, correct?
That is correct.
Right. So if you were registered, if you used to live in Delaware, now you move to downtown, your vehicle cannot apply for a residential parking permit until you get the registration changed to Philadelphia and to that block where you're applying for the RPP.
Yes, that is correct.
And for the pricing, explain to me what it means by first vehicle, $35. What does that mean?
Well, oftentimes today's world, one home could have multiple vehicles. So the first vehicle, these are yearly prices, by the way. The first vehicle permit is $35. If you need a permit for a second vehicle, it's an additional $50. And if you need a permit for another vehicle, which would be the third vehicle, it is $75.
Right. So getting an RPP, this type of permit, is a great way to avoid tickets, because you can park in your community and avoid getting a ticket just by having the sticker or being in the virtual system with the RPP or with the residential parking permit, right? That's a great way to avoid having a ticket. It's a great point. So we have a question from our audience. People always park on my block without a permit, and I never see PPA. What can I do?
Well, first of all, we make every effort to patrol. Going back to our patrol, and we have mobile units who drive PPA vehicles who are assigned to RPP areas or residential parking areas for that purpose of being able to get around and time multiple streets. Oftentimes, let's say I go to a particular street at 12 o'clock. I time the street. Sometimes the street is parking regulated on both sides. So I'll time both of the streets. 12:10, I'm getting back in the car. I've timed the block. I'm going to another location. Then 12:15, a car pulls up on the block and I'm gone. And I come back to that block for 2 hours.
Okay.
So sometimes we might miss a car on my first pass, and I have to time it on the second pass. But if any citizen feels that their block is not being patrolled, they have the option to call the PPA, and they will be doubly certain to get somebody out to that location.
Okay, so they can call us and we will be out there. We have some telephone numbers at the end that people can use to reach us for or to request our services. Great, thank you, Mr. Simmons. So now let's talk about another part of, what happens if you get a ticket or you're getting a ticket, and how to maybe not get that ticket that's about to be produced. So this is real insider information that a lot of people don't know, they don't understand, but we want people who are watching and listening now to understand it, because we want you to take advantage of everything that we have to offer. This is, we're calling it insider information, but it really isn't. It's how we operate each and every day, but we want more people to understand how we operate. So there's a process that we call rescissions, meaning that we take back or repeal a ticket that we're about to issue. So Ms. Jackson, can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Yes, so the parking authority issues what's called a rescission affidavit. The important thing to know about a rescission affidavit is that it only applies to a meter violation. And what that means is that if the citizen approaches before we have that ticket out of the printer and in the envelope, we're able to offer that. But I do want to stress.
Ms. Jackson, would you say that again, please, just to clarify? When can you get a rescission?
You can get a rescission affidavit only for a meter ticket. And as long as the officer hasn't put the handheld into the verification process again. What happens is in the beginning, because you have the option to pay from your cell phone and also the pay by plate, the handheld is going to run it through a verification process in the beginning of the ticket. So before the ticket actually prints out, it's going to run it through a second verification process. So there's a double verification process. So as long as it hasn't gone through that second verification process, then we can offer a rescission affidavit to the citizen.
Excellent, okay. So now also, how about the notion of on the street having a cancellation or kind of wanting to have a discussion with the officer about, you know, what do I do if I don't think I shouldn't have gotten my ticket? What can citizens do, or what can our customers do then?
Well, if it's an error on the officer's part, for instance, if maybe they've scanned a license plate and one of the characters are wrong on the license plate, or maybe they've maybe issued a ticket to the car that was in a loading zone and meter ticket. If it's an error on our part, the supervisor can come out and we can cancel that ticket on the street. Also, if there's a 1 minute window between the time that the payment was made for the parking and the issuance of the ticket, we can also cancel those tickets.
And do both of those cancellations, Ms. Jackson, occur when a supervisor comes to the location, the officer can't do it?
Yes, the supervisor has to come to the location to verify. So it's important that the citizen stays on the location to wait for the supervisor. And we do make every effort to get there as soon as possible. We understand, you know, people's time is precious. So we try to get there as soon as possible to take care of it.
But these are three circumstances basically when you can have a ticket canceled before it's printed, or rescinded before it's printed, or canceled once it has been printed.
Yes.
Okay, so officer error or a 1 minute window. You show a paid receipt that's within 1 minute of the time of the ticket, and we can cancel on the street, correct?
Yes, the supervisor would just come to verify that. So that would be 3 good ways to beat the meter.
Yes, good stuff to know. Now, as we talk about, here's another question. Somebody's said to us, we keep saying the word handheld. What is that? What does it mean by handheld?
I'm sorry. So a handheld is it's the computer device that we use to issue the tickets. We refer to it as a handheld. It's just a device we use to issue tickets.
Right. So it scans the license plate and it prints out the ticket and all those things. So we do it from our hand. We call it a handheld.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So now if we would talk a little bit about our pay by plate system, we have another one of our friendly PPA faces, one of my favorite people. I really enjoy you because you're always cheerful and smiling. Can you tell us about the pay by plate kiosk and knowing your license plate, and then introduce the video that we have coming on, after you introduce yourself?
Yes. So the know your license plate is you have to make 100% sure that you enter the correct license plate number and the correct zone number, or you will receive a ticket citation with the new pay-by-plate machines. And also is you could pay at any pay-by-plate kiosk machine, but like I would suggest to take a picture of your license plate and a zone number so you can enter that zone number where your car is parked with the new pay-by-plate kiosk machines.
Great. Okay. Well, you know what? To be helpful, let's play this video that we have, and we'll see a familiar face in that video. We have a pay-by-plate video. That's great. Our familiar face will show up in the next video. I'm sorry about that. So, Mr. Rutaj, you made a really good point, and I just want to reinforce it, that you must put in the correct license plate, or otherwise you're going to be paying for somebody else's parking session. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Now, if somebody finds a broken meter or a broken kiosk, what should they do?
Well, they could report it by calling the 888-591-3636 number, and we will report it to, and so a meter mechanic will go out to the location, the next day to repair that kiosk machine, or if it's a single head or double headed meter, or the old green machines also, they will go out to repair it the next day, or try to get out there the next day.
Okay. And they can call us or get us on our social media. We'll gladly talk about it. Now, what if somebody double pays? Let's say somebody puts in their license plate and they realize, oops, I put in the wrong license plate. Let me put in the right license plate. How do they get a refund?
Okay, so they would call the number that our number is posted on the machine, the 215-222-9100 number. They can call, and I will take their information, get all their information, submit a refund request for the citizen, and it's simple. It's as simple as that.
So let me ask you. So you're saying that if I call that 222 number, I'm going to talk to you?
Yes, you will, or the other person, but I would prefer everybody. It would be, I mean, I could tell you this, I love people and I love talking on the phone. You may have to get me off the phone after we talk so long over the phone.
Wow.
Okay. That's the bright, shiny face I'm used to seeing right there. Okay.
Right.
If they contact you, you'll do your best to try to help them get their refund. But remember, as Mr. Rutaj just said, please be sure to enter the correct license plate number and the correct zone. And you've been offered a good tip. Take a picture of your license plate so you can try to help you remember what your license plate number is. And then also take a picture of your zone, and you'll need that when we start talking about our Meter Up program, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. So Meter Up is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful app that we have. It will save you time, money, and help you avoid tickets, guaranteed, without a doubt. And there's some neat little tips that we have here, some things that we can't say that they are our rules that we're recommending, but just some stuff that we're saying we heard people do, and it really does work. So we're going to just share it with you. But first, let's just check out this quick video on our Meter Up app. Okay, that's great. We had a movie star in our house there. So tell me, one question that came to mind is I saw that video is, can you extend your session after the session has already ended? One second, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry about that. No, it won't allow you to extend your session after it's already expired. So the app is going to give you an alert. I think it's 10 to 15 minutes before it expires to allow you to extend your parking session.
Okay, so you must do that before your session ends,
Yes.
or otherwise it locks you out from starting again for a half
Yes.
hour. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great. So tell us about the features. I know you got a really good tip or trick right here.
I do. I have a little bit of a trick for you guys to beat the meter. So the good thing about the Meter Up app is that it allows you to save time because you can set up your payment before you even get to the city. So you set up your account, you plug in your license plate and connect your credit card. You come in, you park, you set the duration, you can just go. It also saves you money because you're only going to pay for the amount of time that you park. So if you put in, let's say 2 hours and you're not here for 2 hours, it only ends up being an hour. You want to stop your session once you return back to your car, and you're only going to pay for that 1 hour as opposed to paying for the 2 hours originally. And it also helps you avoid a parking ticket because it gives you the alert before the session expires. So you get a notice and says, hey, if you still want to stay a little longer, you want to extend this parking session. And just to give you guys a little tip, and I'm not saying it's our policy, but I do hear that some people pay on the kiosk first and then make the second payment on the Meter Up app because it avoids the surcharges. So it's not our policy, but just a tip.
We just heard some people do that, right?
Yes.
All right, okay, I got you. So what if you get a ticket 1 minute after paying on Meter Up?
So if it's within the 1 minute time frame, you can call the parking authority, or if you see a parking enforcement officer, just ask them to call a supervisor over. If your payment is in that 1 minute and you've received a ticket, we can cancel that ticket on the street.
Great, excellent. So that's a very good tip. The Meter Up really can save you money and
Yes,
allow
it
you
really
to
can.
conveniently. If you pay for a session, you're at lunch and you stay longer than you expected to, your doctor's appointment goes over, you can extend from wherever you are.
Yes, and I think one of the best features about the Meter Up, especially during this time, is that it's contact free. So you don't have to touch a kiosk machine, you don't have to touch a screen. You can just extend your parking straight from your phone, from your app, no matter where you are.
Okay, great. Now I would also say that there's another little bit of information that I would offer, and it's a customer service that we provide. And that is, if you enter the wrong license plate into your Meter Up app, and then you subsequently get a ticket, when you contact us through DM or PM, we will, for that one ticket, we will try to get that canceled for you, because we understand that sometimes people pay, that they sometimes type in the wrong information. But that will only be a one-time courtesy. That doesn't happen frequently. It's only the one-time courtesy. So it's really important to put in the accurate information to make sure that you're paying for your car and not somebody else's car. Now, you should know that there are parking options. You have plenty of options to park. I shouldn't say plenty, but there are options to park where you're not at a meter, or you're doing something else that may be less expensive for you. So we have loading zones that have been mentioned, passenger vehicle loading zones. They're for 20, 30 minutes. Sometimes people may say to you, oh, no, you can't park in this loading zone. It's only for my apartment building. Just want you to know that's not true. If it just says loading zone or passenger loading zone, anyone can park there for the amount of time that's allotted. It's important that you respect the amount of time that's allotted, because if you stay longer, you do inconvenience the people who did set up the loading zone, and also you may get a ticket. But anyone can park at a loading zone. So if you're just running in to buy a tasty cake and want to run back out, try to find a loading zone. Excuse me. Also, we do have a garage parking and parking lots, and which are convenient, it's going to stay a long time. We have a really great discount program that's going on right now. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But garage parking, particularly at PPA lots and garages, are the best deals in town. You won't find less expensive or better deals in garage parking than with PPA. But if you need to stay a long while and you want to avoid the meter, that's a way to do it. And the last thing that's noted on this slide is that we have unregulated blocks. That means blocks that do not have parking restrictions for, say, only 2-hour parking, or they don't have a meter on them. They may have a loading zone, but they don't have meters on them. And we have a few blocks that are downtown. So here's some inside information. Here are the unregulated blocks that are in Center City. Callahill from 2nd to 7th, the 500 block of Wood, and the 500 block of Vine Street. They're in one section of downtown, but they are unregulated. So I'm just saying, if that location works for you, know that there is some free parking that's out there. Now, we always want you to know all your options. So as I mentioned before, we do have garage parking that is available. Right now, the Parking Authority is supporting and encouraging people to come downtown to our restaurants. The mayor opened up the restaurants to encourage more life and vibrancy downtown, given the restrictions that we had with COVID. You can come downtown after 5 p.m., park for dinner, and pay only $7 to park. You can't beat that. You just can't beat that. There's also lots of early bird special, other weekend rates. All those things help you beat the meter and not get a ticket for meter parking. I will also say to you too that we are here for our customer service. DM us or PM us on our social media at Phillip Parking. We will answer those questions all the time. We are always looking on social media. We do kind of ask if you're going to write something on, late Friday night. Understand that we may not get back to you till early Monday morning, but we are always paying attention. So we want to talk with you, and we will help you and assist you with your problem. Now, you might also run into the issue of, say, we call it ticket disputes, where you want to dispute a ticket with our Bureau of Administrative Adjudication. That's with the city. That's a city agency and authority, but we do work with them. So here's some recommendations of things you should have just to help you to dispute tickets if you get one. And that is, you want a copy of your kiosk receipt or the parking session report, as well as some timestamp pictures or videos about the circumstances that you have. Just have evidence that supports the position that you're making relative to why you shouldn't have gotten the ticket. Have everything that you can have. And so these are some things that we do recommend, because sometimes people dispute a ticket and they don't think to save their kiosk receipt, or they don't think to make pictures or videos of the circumstances that they describe. And here's a few important phone numbers that we want to also share with you. If we gave you the general number of the 1-888-591-3636, that's 1-888-591-3636, or RPP. You can also contact them at the 683-9730. Or again, if you want to talk to Scott, wave hi, Scott. You want to talk to Scott, you can call him at 222-9100. He's always there. He sleeps in the closet just waiting for citizen phone calls because he loves customers. He's always there.
Thank you.
So we encourage you, contact us. We are glad to talk with you. We are glad to hear your concerns and try to help you the best way that we can. And we hope that we've clarified a lot of questions that people have about, how do we give tickets, when do we issue tickets, and why we're giving tickets. And also we gave you some insider tips on, how you can best take advantage of all the things that some people use when they're parking at meters in the city of Philadelphia. So we want you to take advantage of all those things. All these things, are there and available for you to use. Now we're taking our last questions from our audience. If there are more people who have questions, give them to us in our chat. Earlier, here's one question just came in. We earlier mentioned that we have analysts who go out. What do the analysts do?
You want me to answer this one?
Yeah.
So Our analysts go out and they survey the area. You know, on any given day, no matter what the weather conditions or the time of year, you know, there's going to be certain violations in that certain area. So that's what the analysts go out and do. So that question kind of, I think, pertains to whether or not we have a quota. We don't have a quota, but we know, you know, the analysts, because they go out and survey an area, they know what violations are in a certain area given, you know, doesn't matter the time of the year or the weather conditions.
Right. So they have a sense of the type of violations that people may have, you know, if it's near a hospital,
Yes.
they say, hey, pay attention to the hospital zone, or pay attention to this type of loading zone, make sure that you have the proper turnover so people can gain proper access to the hospital.
Yes.
And also another question we just got is, what if I park at a meter with my hazards on? I'll give that to Mr. Rutizer because he likes that kind of question, because he's so
Okay,
customer friendly.
So if your hazard lights are on and the vehicle is unattended and you're at a meter, I would issue the ticket on a vehicle. I always tell people just to make sure that there's somebody in a vehicle, but if there was nobody in the vehicle and they had their hazard lights on, I would issue the ticket on the vehicle.
Right. Now, what if somebody was in that vehicle, Mr. Rutizer? What would you do?
If somebody was in the vehicle, I would just walk by the car.
Right. So you would ask them you'd walk by and ask them if they could, you know, either pay their meter or.
Correct. I would go up to them and just, you know, mention to them, you know, it is a park spot, you know, that they should pay the meter, whether, even if they put a quarter in a meter, you know, if they're waiting for somebody, that's what I would do.
Right. And you would come back by later on, I guess, as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. This is wonderful. I thank you so much. I think that we've gotten some good questions from our audience. Anything that, Ms. Jackson, I'll let you be maybe the senior spokesperson over there to say, actually, each of you a chance to say, what is your favorite or best tip that you have to offer about how to avoid a ticket? Just one thing. I'll start with you, Mr. Rutizer. What's your favorite thing? Your favorite tip? Mr. Rutizer?
The favorite tip?
Favorite tip to avoid a ticket?
To avoid getting a ticket, just make sure that you read the signs, because that's the most important thing, because most people get a ticket because they didn't look at the sign, or the signs sometimes in certain areas, the signs change where one part of the day you could park there and then the other day it becomes like a truck loading zone, or, you know, you just got to be wary of the signs and make sure. That's the most important thing, to read the signs.
Okay, great. Mr. Simmons?
Well, we want everybody to know that we patrol. We're not out to get you. We didn't jump off the tree. We wasn't hiding on the roof. Because we patrol, and because our patrol is constant, sometimes we miss you by a minute, or you miss us by a minute or two. But just know that we are patrolling, and it's better to pay than play.
Yes. Okay. And you, Ms. Jackson?
So I think my tip would be to always print a receipt, even at the pay-by-plate machines. Print a receipt for your payment, because you never know what might happen if you get caught on the other side of town or something and you want to pay for your parking. Your receipt is going to have your zone number and your license plate on it. So you want to always print a receipt. The machine gives you that option.
Okay, even though you have the option not to print,
Yes.
sometimes it's nice just to have the print it just in case you need some documentation.
Right. You might decide you want to go check out the Liberty Bell or something, and that wasn't on the plans for today. So now you'll be able to pay for your parking on another street over by the Liberty Bell.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Well, I thank each of you for participating today, and I thank you, our audience, for being here. My name is Clarina Tolson. It has been my pleasure to kind of help guide this discussion. Please contact any of us on the PPA team at engageppa@phillippark.org. We're also out there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Please contact us. We're here to help you. We want you to understand your options with regard to parking in the city. We want to help you and learn how to be in compliance so that you can avoid parking tickets. So you can have a much more enjoyable experience when you're on commercial corridors or downtown. But bottom line is, know that we're here to help. Next month, we're going to be with you to have a discussion about parking for those who have disabilities. So please join us on December 3rd for that discussion. Again, on behalf of the entire Public Engagement Division, and certainly our Communications Department, with special thanks to Janelle King and Bill Wasser, I want to say thank you. And also on behalf of Scott Petrie, our Executive Director, we appreciate this opportunity of being with you here today. We hope that it was informative and that you'll join us for another session. But today we talked about Beat the Meter, and we hope that you do. Take care.